Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1 for the Newsfirst, where the people come first. I'm Martin Satyanesan.
And I'm Thiruni Karunaratna. Here are tonight's top stories. President announces major relief for disaster victims. 5 million rupee compensation for fully damaged homes. Businesses to receive 5 million rupees for reconstruction. Special assistance for university students, farmers and industries. Nearly 700 million rupees raised for rebuilding Sri Lanka fund. Continuous operations to restore disaster-hit regions. Sirasa Shakti Yatra flood relief convoy delivers aid to multiple areas. Airdrops for Ramboda. Heavy rain and strong winds expected in 5 provinces from the 9th of December.
Under those stories in detail. Addressing Parliament today, the President unveiled a sweeping series of relief measures aimed at rebuilding lives and livelihoods devastated by recent disasters.
Addressing Parliament today, the President unveiled a sweeping series of relief measures aimed at rebuilding lives and livelihoods devastated by recent disasters. This includes a 50,000 rupee grant for purchasing essential household items for homes destroyed, paid once per household regardless of ownership. 25,000 rupee monthly allowance for 3 months for families leaving evacuation centres to rent alternative housing. 200,000 rupee grant to restart registered livestock farms destroyed by the disaster. 400,000 rupee compensation for each registered fishing boat completely damaged. 5 million rupee grant to construct a new house for fully destroyed homes. 5 million rupee grant for land acquisition to rebuild homes lost to disaster. 150,000 rupee per hectare for replanting paddy and other grains affected. Up to 2.5 million rupees for repairing partially damaged houses. 5 million rupee grant to restart businesses impacted by the disaster. 15,000 rupees from the Treasury and 10,000 rupees from the President's Fund for affected students. 200,000 rupee per hectare for restarting vegetable cultivation. Request to the IMF to increase the 6th tranche to $341 million expected by February after discussions. Additional $200 million relief request from the IMF to meet urgent dollar needs, formation of a national task force for reconstruction, and a 1 million rupee compensation for each person who lost their life due to the disaster.
President Anurukumara Dissanayake delivered a heartfelt message on the nation's path forward after the recent disaster that claimed hundreds of lives and displaced thousands.
We cannot bring back those we lost to these disasters. That is the harsh reality we must face. We cannot restore their lives. Yet, as a government and as citizens, what is our responsibility? Even in the midst of this painful truth, our aspiration must be to build a country better than what it is today for those who have survived. The government is committed to ensuring such a tragedy never repeats and to creating a stronger, safer nation. We are prepared to work tirelessly toward that goal because this is a responsibility we cannot ignore. Every disaster brings loss of life and property. But one thing remains unshaken: the humanity of the Sri Lankan people. This disaster proved it beyond doubt. What does that mean? Even now, people from Mathura have gone to Badulla, those from Galle to Kandy, Kalutara to Nuwara and Hambantota to Puttalam. They are clearing debris from roads they have never walked before, cleaning bus stands they would never stop at, and restoring homes of strangers they met for the first time. Wells are being cleaned, relief camps are being treated as family, pain is being shared. That is the humanity of our nation, a spirit no disaster can destroy. Children are donating their piggy banks to relief efforts. Our overseas Sri Lankans are working tirelessly for the well-being of their countrymen. When the blood bank announced a shortage, crowds came forward to donate. This is the humanity that defines us. Sadly, I saw some MPs ridicule these efforts, questioning what the people were doing. History teaches us that whenever a nation rises after falling to its knees, the driving force is always the courage and aspiration of its people.
බිඳ වැටුණු සෑම රාජ්‍යයක්ම ගොඩනැගීමේදී ප්‍රධානතම කාර්ය බවට පරිවර්තනය පත් වුණේ එම ජනතාවගේ අභිලාෂය සහ ධෛර්යය.
Meanwhile, the President in his address to Parliament commented on strengthening Sri Lanka's air fleet for disaster response.
මේ තත්ත්වෙන් ගොඩ ඒම සඳහා අවුරුදු දෙකක තුනක ප්ලෑන් එකක් අපිට අවශ්‍යයි.
To recover from this situation, we need a structured plan spanning 2 to 3 years. This disaster is massive and short-term fixes will not suffice. We must implement a continuous recovery strategy for at least 3 years, and for that purpose, we intend to present and pass a Special Provisions Act. Our vision is simple yet ambitious: rebuild Sri Lanka. We have already drafted the necessary plans to uplift the country and restore resilience. A stable plan is essential. One critical area is our air fleet, which is currently very weak. Our helicopter fleet has been grounded for nearly 7 years. The lifespan of a helicopter is measured in years, and every year of inactivity has cost us dearly. For almost 7 years, the Mi-17 squadron remained idle. We have now called for tenders and completed the procurement process for repairs to 5 Mi-17 helicopters, and those contracts have been awarded. Similarly, repairs for the Bell 212 helicopter have been approved. In addition, 7 more Mi-17 helicopters will undergo repairs, bringing our operational fleet to 12 helicopters. We must face this reality instead of shouting from the sidelines. We identified these weaknesses well before this disaster and began the repair process early. The Air Force deserves recognition for operating these helicopters and risking their own safety to rescue people. 4 Kafir fighter jets have already been sent to Israel for repairs and will return in December. Through diplomatic efforts, we have secured commitments for additional aircraft. The United States will provide a C-130 in 2026, and Australia will also donate aircraft. Let me be clear, this is not for war. A strong air fleet is essential to respond effectively to disasters and save lives.
ඇයි අපිට ඕන මෙවැනි මේ යුද්ධ කරන්න නෙමෙයි මෙවැනි ව්‍යසනයකට ශක්තිමත් ගුවන් බලයනියක් අවශ්‍යයි.
In the aftermath of Cyclone Ditwa's devastating impact, the International Monetary Fund has expressed solidarity with Sri Lanka and confirmed a request for emergency financial assistance is under review.
Evan Papageorgiou, IMF mission chief for Sri Lanka, issued a statement acknowledging the scale of destruction and pledging continued engagement with Sri Lankan authorities during this critical period. The Sri Lankan government has formally requested approximately $200 million under the IMF's rapid financing instrument, equivalent to 26% of the country's quota. This request is currently under consideration and subject to approval by the IMF Executive Board. Papageorgiou emphasized the IMF's commitment to supporting Sri Lanka's urgent recovery and resilience building efforts.
The third reading of the 2026 appropriation bill was passed in Parliament with an emphatic majority. The final vote recorded 158 in favour and just 1 against.
ඒ අනුව විසර්ජන පනත් කෙටුම්පත 2026 තුන්වෙනි වර කිවීම සංශෝධන සහිතව සම්මත කිරීමට පක්ෂව ඡන්ද 158ක්ද විරුද්ධව ඡන්ද 1ක්ද ලැබී ඇත. ඡන්දය දීමෙන් වැළකී සිටි සංඛ්‍යාව 2කි. ඒ අනුව විසර්ජන පනත් කෙටුම්පත 2026 තුන්වෙනි වර කියවා සංශෝධන සහිතව වැඩි ඡන්ද 157කින් සම්මත වූ බව මෙම සභාවට දන්වනු කැමැත්තෙමි.
Now, following the recent disaster, close to 700 million rupees has been received for the Rebuilding Sri Lanka project, according to Dr. Harshana Suryaperuma, who is the Secretary to the Ministry of Finance. This includes financial contributions from 33 countries.
According to information provided by the Treasury Operations Department, the Bank of Ceylon account has so far received over 635 million rupees as confirmed by the bank. These deposits amount to more than 30,470 transactions. Additionally, the central bank has facilitated several foreign currency accounts which have received approximately 61 million rupees. Accordingly, the total now stands at 697.476 million rupees as reported by the Treasury Operations Department. When we look at the countries contributing, France tops the list, followed by Canada, the United States and Korea, with significant amounts sent by our fellow Sri Lankans living abroad. In total, contributions have come from 33 countries. On average, we are seeing daily inflows exceeding 100 million rupees, reflecting the strong commitment of Sri Lankans overseas and institutions supporting this national recovery effort.
ආධාර උපකාර සපයන්නට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන ජනතාව විසින් ආයතන විසින් මේ ආධාරයන් ලබා දෙන බව අපිට පෙනී ගිහිල්ලා තියෙනවා.
Dr. Suryaperuma also stated that damage assessment is being carried out with the involvement of the World Bank.
ලෝක බැංකුවේ මැදිහත් වීම තුලින්
With the World Bank's intervention, work has already begun on preparing a rapid damage and loss assessment report. We expect this report within 2 weeks or less, outlining the primary aspects of destruction. Based on this report, future reconstruction plans will be formulated. Institutions are already preparing to undertake restoration of road networks, irrigation systems, hospitals and schools. The necessary mechanisms for these rehabilitation efforts are now being activated swiftly.
මේ වෙනකොට ලහි ලහියේ ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනමින් තියෙන බව අපිට පේන්නට තියෙනවා.
The Department of Meteorology announced today that several provinces are expected to experience increased rainfall and windy condition from the 9th to the 12th of December. Speaking on the matter, the Director General of the department, Atula Karunanayaka, provided further details.
During this latter phase of the monsoon season, thundery rainfall activity has been relatively lower compared to the inter-monsoon period. However, we can currently observe that in the next few days, especially after the 9th of December, this latter monsoon phase will become more active. This means that wind speeds are expected to increase. Under these conditions, we can expect an increase in rainfall across the island on the 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th of December. Most of the heavier rainfall is likely in the northern, north central, northwestern, eastern and over provinces, where occasional heavy showers and thundery conditions may occur. In some locations within these provinces, rainfall could reach 75 to 100 millimeters. In the rest of the country, particularly in the southern regions, the increase in wind speed along the eastern coast may trigger scattered thundery showers. Compared to the inter-monsoon period, these thundery showers will be relatively less intense, meaning rain may occur without thunder. These showers are more likely to occur in the afternoon or evening rather than in the morning, mainly across the southern regions. Currently, there are active low-pressure systems in the Bay of Bengal moving towards the Andaman Islands. As a result, from the 9th of December onward, we can generally expect heavy rainfall, strong winds and rough seas along the coastal regions. The death toll from the adverse weather conditions across the island has risen to 607. The Disaster Management Centre reports that 214 people are still missing. A total of 2,082,195 people from 586,464 families have been affected nationwide. Currently, 152,537 individuals are taking shelter in safe centres.
The National Building Research Organisation has issued red alerts for landslide risks in 5 districts. According to the NBRO, this warning applies to the districts of Kandy, Kegol, Kurunagala, Mathale and Nuwara Eliya.
Joint relief operations for those affected by the emergency disaster situation caused by Cyclone Ditwa continue today. These efforts involve the participation of the Sri Lanka Army, Air Force, Navy, Police, as well as international relief teams.
A 3-month-old baby separated from the mother due to the landslides in Mimure was reunited today through the efforts of the Sri Lanka Army. The operation was supported by the Sri Lanka Air Force. Meanwhile, military medical teams are assessing the health conditions of residents affected by the landslides in Mimure. Across the country, the army continues to assist in restoring roads damaged by the floods. The army is also helping to clear the railway track in Alawa and Yaktalgoda, which were obstructed by the floods. The Sri Lanka Army carried out clearing operations at the Samudra Devi Balika Vidyalaya in Mulleriyawa, which was affected by the floods. Meanwhile, Air Force relief operations for flood-affected citizens continue across the country. These teams are involved in cleaning and restoring government institutions, public areas and homes. For the citizens affected by the floods, the Government of India has provided 2 mobile hospitals, one of which has been established in the town of Mahayangana. Treatment services commenced today. The main hospital in Mahayangana had been completely submerged when the Mahavali River overflowed, halting all patient care. Under the guidance of the Sri Lanka Army, these mobile hospital services are now operational, staffed by an Indian hospital team of 85 personnel, including 10 doctors and 1 dentist. The mobile hospital is equipped to provide a wide range of medical services, including minor surgeries, dental care and X-ray facilities.
Japan's disaster relief team has set up a relief camp in Chilau to support locals affected by the disaster.
31 members of Japan's disaster relief medical team, along with medical equipment, arrived in Sri Lanka on the 3rd of this month. Japanese Ambassador Akio Isamata, along with Dr. Anil Jayasinghe, Secretary to the Ministry of Health, visited the medical camp today to review the relief operations and evaluate the assistance being offered to the local community.
They have already treated 100 patients, so I think they are now deploying and providing medical services, which is very much needed by the local community right now. In addition to this medical services, Japan yesterday delivered emergency relief goods through JICA, tents, blankets, sleeping pads, water purifiers, and there will be more assistance coming from Japan. And from the initial stage of emergency relief, moving on to the next stage of restoration, rehabilitation, reconstruction, Japan will always be together with the people of Sri Lanka in need.
Over the next 2 weeks, the camp will deliver emergency medical care in Chilau to the flood-affected residents.
Newsfirst, main sponsor.
Valuable FD, the symbol of stability. Valuable FD, the symbol of stability.
Today is December 5th, International Volunteer Day. Across Sri Lanka, while disaster-stricken communities struggle to survive, countless others are stepping forward voluntarily, offering invaluable force of compassion and strength. The spirit of service is best exemplified by the Sirasa Shakti Sahana Yatra flood relief convoy, now on its 8th consecutive day of operations. A major boost to this mission came from the Sri Lanka Air Force, whose support enabled the Sirasa Shakti Sahana Yatra flood relief drive to airlift essential supplies to some of the most inaccessible regions.
In several areas, reaching affected communities remains extremely challenging due to blocked and hazardous access routes. For locations completely cut off, the Sirasa Shakti Sahana Yatra flood relief drive has adopted a bubble wrap packaging method to secure essential items for safe air delivery. These carefully packed supplies were transported from the MTV MBC head office premises to the Katanaika Air Force Base today for onward dispatch.
These are specially packed and wrapped in bubble wrap, specially packed for a certain weight to make sure that when these supplies are airdropped, they won't be damaged. They won't be damaged at all. They will be very safe, and they will reach the necessary affected communities when they are airdropped from the sky. Now, for this operation, we have with us Sri Lankan Air Force pilots on board a Bell 412 helicopter, which will airborne from the Katunayake Air Force Base camp. And these affected supplies will reach several affected communities in the central highlands of Sri Lanka.
From the Katunayake airport, the supplies were flown to several locations in the Nuwara Eliya district, including Ramboda, where communities remain in dire need. The Air Force then executed precision airdrops to ensure that these packages reached the affected families safely. As always, today, the MTV-MBC head office premises at Braybrook Place, Colombo, the Department Broadcasting Centre, the KCC premises in Kandy and the special centre at the Kahaduwatha Junction in Galle remain fully operational. Throughout the day, many individuals brought various forms of assistance to help our own people suffering from landslides, floods and earth slips. The Embassy of the Russian Federation in Sri Lanka also extended its support to the Sirasa Shakti Yatra flood relief drive, delivering essential aid.
So we would like to express our support. We always were standing with Sri Lankan people. We will continue to stand. Today, our colleagues from Russian Cultural Center have brought some assistance, humanitarian aid. We are waiting for a big cargo from Moscow. Monday morning, I will go personally to the airport. 35 tons of humanitarian aid, some equipment, some food, and we do believe that Sri Lanka will overcome all the problems.
Responding to a request from the Sri Lanka Nurses Association, a stock of sanitary items was handed over for delivery to the Mahayangana Hospital. While one team worked tirelessly to pack and dispatch essential items, another convoy departed from the MTV-MBC head office premises heading towards Badulla and Putlam to reach affected communities. At the Department Broadcasting Centre, a large number of people arrived today with donations. These were sent to Muthur and Mavilaru, areas where families remain in desperate need. The Kandy City Centre Relief Point also operated throughout the day, with supplies dispatched to Galahagama. Significant contributions were received at the Galle Kahaduwatha Operations Centre as well. In the Kurunegala district, convoys delivered essential items throughout the day to villages including Jayasirigama, Makandura, Hengamua and Pannala, covering numerous divisional secretariat divisions such as Pannala and Kobegane. Further assistance was extended to displaced families in camps at Ridigama, Kiribatgalla, Kitulgolla, Bambargahakanda, Kalugahathanna, Pallekhanda and Delbitter. Another team travelled to the Nure Elliot district, where 321 displaced individuals at the Hanguranketa Adhikarigama Victoria National School camp received relief. The convoy also reached Mal-Ulla, delivering essential supplies. Essential items were handed over to the Valimata Divisional Secretariat for distribution to Bogahakumbura residents. From across the country, countless individuals, including youth, continue to give their strength to the Sirasa Shakti Sahasya flood relief drive, a force that will never be forgotten. The Sirasa Shakti Sahasya flood relief drive operates with the people, for the people.
The Sirasa Shakti Sahana Yatra. Sri Lanka needs you. Please donate the following dry rations and help those who need it the most. Rice, dal, noodles, soya meat, canned fish and biscuits. You can hand over these items at the following collection points: the MTV head office, Braybrook Place, Colombo 2, the Depanama Studio Complex in Panipitia, the Kandy City Centre in Kandy. For further inquiries, please call 076 552 5000. Together, we can make a difference.
Restoration work in areas affected by Cyclone Yatra is now moving forward at a rapid pace. Government officials, the Triforces, police, volunteers and relief teams from several countries are actively contributing to these efforts.
The city of Gampala was heavily affected by natural disasters triggered by Cyclone Yatra. This is how the town is gradually returning to normalcy. The Kandy-Gampala Road and the Peradeniya-Gampala Road via Doluwa have now been reopened. Normalcy is being rapidly restored in Polonnaruwa as well. While measures were taken to provide electricity to the town today, the district secretary says that within the next 2 weeks, both water and electricity supply in the town will be fully restored.
Our district has around 850 transformers and more than 60% of them were damaged, mainly due to fallen trees and other impacts of the disaster. As far as I know, more than 10 teams from the Ceylon Electricity Board are now working together to restore power to the affected areas. At the same time, there were also disruptions to the drinking water supply due to the situation. However, water is currently being delivered to the affected villages through bowsers. Most likely, within about a week, the CEB and the Water Supply and Drainage Board will be able to fully restore services disrupted by the disaster.
The district secretary also explained the ongoing road repairs and other restoration work in the district.
We have reopened the Batiklo-Kadruwela road and vehicular movement there has now returned to normal. However, the Somavati road is still submerged, making it difficult to access the area by land. The most serious damage in the Polonnaruwa district occurred to the Alahara Anicut. As everyone knows, the Alahara Anicut supplies water to major tanks, Mineria, Kaudula, Kantale, Giritale, as well as the Mahavali G-zone. One of the ancient bunds of the Anicut has been breached. The scale of the damage is extremely significant. However, repair work on the Anicut began the day before yesterday. For this, the Chief Minister for the Eastern Province has provided us with a team from the Army. We expect that within the next 2 weeks, that is within 14 days, the repairs to the bund will be fully completed, enabling us to release water again to the farmlands and associated reservoirs. In addition, a main road in the Kumaralla area has been completely destroyed. Repair work on that has also commenced the day before yesterday, and we hope to restore it to normal conditions as soon as possible.
The overflow of the Ma oil caused damage to the Giriola town and several surrounding villages. The town has now been reopened and electricity supply has been restored for the most part. Our Newsfirst correspondent reports that the water supply is also being brought back to normal. The city of Gampaha also experienced severe flooding over the past few days. This is the situation in the city as of today. Many areas have now been cleaned and electricity supply has been restored. All access roads have been reopened and public transport services are operating again. The town of Hanwalla was also submerged over the past few days. Access roads were blocked and the electricity supply had been disrupted. With the water now receding, residents are cleaning their homes and shops. Our Newsfirst correspondent reports that electricity supply in the town has largely been restored and access roads are now open.
Out of the country's 1,593 kilometers of railway lines, only about 486 kilometers are currently operational for train services. Deputy Minister of Transport and Highways Dr. Prasanna Gunasena says that plans are being implemented in several phases to restore full railway operations.
As of today, train services are running normally only on the Kalani Valley Railway Line and the Southern Railway Line. Trains are operating from Colombo to Avisavella and from Colombo to Beliata without disruptions. On the Puttalam railway line, train services are limited only up to Nathandia. Train operations remain suspended on the lines to Jaffna, Trincomalee, Batiklo and Badulla. Train services on these lines are currently limited up to Ambepussa. Currently, approximately 12 trains are stranded at Rambukana, Polgahavela, Ganewatta and Kurunagala due to extensive damage caused by the flooding.
38 trains are currently stranded. Some of these include trains with large modules, engines and coaches. Others include power set trains capable of running in both directions as well as double sets that combine two trains to handle higher passenger volumes. Our immediate focus is on the main line, the critical route from Colombo through Peradeniya and Nuvarelia to Badulla, which suffered the most extensive damage. We are planning to restore operations from Ambepussa to Alawa. The Budgamur bridge was completely washed away by the flood waters. It was a large bridge, approximately 20 feet high, that collapsed entirely, allowing the river to flow freely. We have constructed a temporary bridge and laid the rail tracks over it, enabling us to resume train operations. Additionally, landslides occurred in Yaktalgoda. Once cleared, we hope to resume train services from Fort Maradana to Kurunagala and Rambukana. Once cleared, we hope to resume train services from Fort Maradana to Kurunagala and Rambukana. The stranded trains in Polgahavela, Ganewatta and Kurunagala will be mobilized again, allowing us to increase train capacity. Currently, train services are primarily operating with large motorized engines and coaches. On an average day, around 55 trains run, with 80 to 90% of capacity operational. Of the total fleet, 18 trains remain stranded due to the damage.
දෛනිකව එක්කෙන්නේ දුම්රිය 50-55ක් වගේ ප්‍රමාණය. පවර් සෙට් ගත්තොත් 80ක් 90ක් වගේ ප්‍රමාණය. ඒතර මේයින් 38ක් තමයි ධාවනයට කිරීමට නොහැකිව හිර වෙලා තියෙන්නේ.
Officials of the Road Development Authority are engaged in extensive efforts to restore the road network that was blocked in several areas due to flooding and landslides. Of the blocked A and B grade roads, 80% of the obstructions across 256 roads have now been cleared. The Road Development Authority stated that access roads to all major roads across the country are now open. Due to the risk of rockfall, the section of the Colombo Kandy main road from Ganethanna to the Kadugarnawa police station, which had been closed, is being reopened under restricted conditions. The Director General of the Road Development Authority, Vimal Kandambi, stated that this section will be open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. starting today, with only one lane available for traffic.
The Ceylon Electricity Board reports that 85% of the power outages caused by the recent disaster have now been restored. The emergency situation had left approximately 390,000 consumers without electricity. The CEB further stated that during the disaster, 16,771 transformers were rendered inactive, of which 14,549 have now been restored to working condition. Steps are currently underway to promptly repair the remaining damaged connections.
News First with the people.
Many lives were tragically lost in the natural disasters triggered by Cyclone Ditwa. Properties were destroyed, entire villages wiped out. Today, Newsfirst visited one such town. The Maspan town in Valimada, a small, picturesque town. It had a row of shops, a modest bus stand, which people used to travel to Kandy, Mahyanganaya, Badulla, Valimada and Nuwara Eliya. But on the 28th of November, this little town was engulfed in a landslide, leaving no trace that a town had ever existed here.
මේ තියෙන මස්පැන්න නගරේ බස් නැවතුම් පොළ. ඔබට පේනවා ඇති දැන්ටමත් මේ නායයාමෙන් බස් රථ තුනක්ම නායට හසු වෙලා පස්සට තියෙන ආකාරය. එතකොට මේ නායයාම සිදුව තිබෙන්නේ මෙන්න මේ තියෙන කන්ද ප්‍රදේශයේ සිට තමයි මේ නායයාම සිදුව තිබෙන්නේ. ඒ වගේම මේ තිබෙන ගොඩනැගිලි සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම විනාශයට පත් වෙලා තිබෙනවා. අතනත් බස් රථයක් දක්නට ලැබෙනවා යට වෙලා තියෙන ආකාරය. ඉතින් මස්පන්න නගරයේ සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම විනාශ වී ඇති ආකාරය තමයි ඔබට මේ දක්නට ලැබෙන්නේ. ප්‍රදේශවාසීන් පවසන ආකාරයට මේ නගරයේ නායයාම තුලින් කිසිදු ජීවිත හානියක් වාර්තා නොවුණත් මෙහි දේපල සියල්ල විනාශ වූ බව තමයි ඔවුන් Newsfirst අපත් සමග සඳහන් කළේ.
The safety precautions taken by the Grama-Niladhari and the vigilance of the local residents ensured that there were no fatalities reported from this town.
අවස් 7:00 වෙනකොට අර බස් ස්ටෑන්ඩ් එක ළඟ දෝංගාල සද්දයක් විතුරුවා. ඒ එක්කම බස් උඩට ආවා බස් කන්දක්. ඒ බස් දෙක යට වුණා. ඊළඟට අතන තිබුණ හાર્ඩ්වෙයාර් එක. ඒ හાર્ඩ්වෙයාර් එක ඊළඟට එන්න පටන් ගත්තා. ඒ එක්ක මෙතන නාට්‍ය තිබුණ බස් එකක්. ඒ එක්ක මෙතන සම්මන තත්තු දෙකේ ගෙදරක්. ඒ ගෙදර 12 දෙනෙක් හිටියා. ඒ 12 දෙනාම මම කෑ ගහලා ඉන්න අර උඩ පැත්තේ ඉඳලා කෑ ගහලා එන්න උඩ පැත්තට දුවන්න කියලා ලෙඩකුත් හිටියා. ඒ 12 දෙනාම බේරගත්තා. එදා රෑ මරුණා නම් එහෙම සාමාන්‍ය 20ක් 22ක් වගේ මැරුණා.
To this day, Maspanna has no electricity. The small, charming town that once stood here is no more. The only relief is that the vigilance and quick action of the locals saved lives.
Deputy Minister of Tourism Professor Ruwan Ranasinghe says that a state of emergency during the cyclonic storm Yatra was declared only to mobilize funds to the country. He stressed that the tourism industry is returning back to normalcy and that no tourist was affected by the disaster. The Deputy Minister made this statement during a media briefing held today.
Well, as for now, things are very much under control. Particularly, I arrived this morning actually from Badulla. Several areas, telecommunication, electricity, water supply, things were affected. But especially the road networks has been cleared. Major roads, class A and B, all roads cleared now in that area. And there are still a few more roads inside, but main roads all cleared. So generally, this disaster situation is clearly has been recovered very short period of time. But declaration of the emergency situation has been highlighted in many media, but I need to be very clear on this. This was particularly declared to mobilize the local international resources to the affected people, because last week I was fighting with officials, the massive funding, billions released by the government to the system, but it was very slow, reaching down to the really affected person. So we had to, mobilize this very effectively where the needy people were there. So that was the reason for this emergency declaration. So generally, things are back to normal. Major tourism sites are open now. Arrivals are also normal. Airport is totally, back to normalcy. So at that time, that was by the 30th, there were 60,272 visitors in the country, but not a single tourist was affected. So everyone was safe. There were certain cases reported, about 65 cases. We opened up our 1912 emergency 24 telephone line. And certain, nearly 60 cases were reported, and we have handled almost all the cases by now. And there are few more pending. We have verified them with the foreign missions. So there is no single, major incident that is reported pertaining to tourists. Now the government's key focus is on rebuilding.
So tourists, actually we handle about 300 odd tourists in those affected areas in Nuwara as well as in Kandy. We airlifted them and we made them safely going to their destination. Some of them are actually continuing their tours as well. So there's not a single case of incident, or there's nobody in the hospitals at the moment when it comes to tourists. So all of us are being pledging that our properties, our accommodation establishment, our tours are continuing in normal stage. So that is something that we need to be emphasized, because this is not a kind of a time for us to be partial on any sort, because this is a national disaster and aftermath. And the economy to revive, it's not the relief funds that only we required. We need the economy to be revived with the particular industries. And one industry which can do the change is tourism. Actually, for last 4 days of time, we handled 25,000 tourists. So each day we get about, like, say, more than 5,000 tourists. So that itself has been showing international community is very much confident.
Meanwhile, today in Parliament, Minister Samantha Widyarathne responded with data to a critical statement made by MP Chamara Sampath Dasanayaka. Let's take a look at this exchange.
Both these vehicles were seen exiting the Hakmana Pradeshya Sabha premises displaying red stars. Government vehicles. The government should not stoop to this level. Do not engage in such classless acts. In the Badula district, people still cannot travel to Lunugala. You have to go through Bibila. You cannot travel via Passara. The road near the Haggala Botanical Gardens has not been restored. The Ambevala road remains closed. The Nuvareli Badula main road has still not been opened. The railway line will not be operational for at least another 6 months. This situation should not be taken lightly. These individuals lied so excessively that the entire country has been placed in this unfortunate situation. The destruction at the Mahayangania hospital is immeasurable. The courts are destroyed. The police station is destroyed. Even the sacred grounds have suffered severe damage. This did not happen even during the time of Lord Buddha. Had the sluice gates been opened gradually, none of this would have occurred. It has been 46 years since the Mahavali scheme was launched, and yet what we experienced this year is unprecedented. I am not referring to the landslides. The Minister of Irrigation, not the government, should resign. If the Irrigation Minister had exercised proper oversight, some of these issues could have been prevented. Do not think this is over. The real rains have not even started yet. Heavy rainfall is expected this month. We experienced rains in a month that usually has none. Keep this in mind as you work. I saw Minister Samantha Widyarathne loading rice onto a helicopter. That is good, but resolving this entire crisis will not be easy. On the Badula Mahayangane road, not even elephants could move rocks. That is the extent of the damage. All the paddy fields are completely destroyed. You could build the Kettarama Stadium there now. If you fail to fix this, all 159 of you will be in trouble. And let me say this clearly, the Minister of Irrigation will have to wear a jumper for this, meaning he will have to go to prison for his actions. That must happen. It is because of him that the country has lost so many lives.
I
believe that even the most powerful government in the world cannot instantly manage a disaster of this magnitude or provide immediate relief. On the other hand, we must understand that 9 days have now passed since this disaster struck, Madam Chair. It began on the 26th with heavy rains, and by the next morning at 9 a.m, the President convened a meeting in Committee Room number 1 of Parliament. I was there with President Andrew Kumara Disanayaka. When the President arrived, he asked where the opposition leader was. Since no message had reached him, the President himself called the opposition leader and said, "Come quickly, we need to discuss this situation." Some suggested the President should take his seat and wait, but he refused until the opposition leader arrived, signalling that this crisis should be managed together. The President extended his hand to the opposition to work as one, but instead of helping, they used this tragedy for political advantage. That is the truth. Now, after all their talk, opposition cannot even set up a proper disaster center. Everything is scattered. They cannot even gather people in one place. When this country was handed over to us, it came with massive debt, billions of dollars. Even the development built with that debt is now destroyed. Today we carry two burdens, and yet they claim they knew this disaster was coming on the 12th November. If so, why didn't they raise it during the budget debate? Why didn't the opposition leader or others mention it? On the night of the 27th, we set up the Badulla District Disaster Management Committee and instructed the district secretary to inform opposition MPs. Not one of them has attended a single meeting. That is the reality. When night work began in Badulla district on the 27th, I asked about the water supply situation. Everything had collapsed. 58,500 consumers were left without water. These were not minor damages. Entire purification plants were washed away, kilometers of pipelines destroyed. But today, I am proud to say that 86.5% of Badulla district has water restored. There were 844 damaged transformers. Only 124 remain to be repaired. We have restored electricity to 80% of the district. Officials worked, people worked, while others searched for faults and played politics. Our teams worked tirelessly. Out of 36 roads destroyed, 29 have been reopened. Tomorrow, the Randepola road will be cleared. Travel from Badulla to Passara is now possible. On the Lunugala road, vehicles can now pass from both sides. The Allavallavai road is open. Within 9 days, our people, volunteers, the military and officials achieved this. When this disaster struck during your time, you said it could be prevented or repaired. I want to remind you, we had 6 backhoes today. We have deployed 36. We brought them from the south, rented them and gave full support to officials. All provincial roads have been repaired. 6 RDA bridges and 10 PRDA bridges were destroyed. Repairs are underway. In telecom, 175 poles were damaged. 76 fell. By last night, 70 of those were repaired. Within 72 hours, Mahiyangana Hospital resumed operations. Kandegidra Hospital, buried by landslides, was rebuilt and reopened within 3 days. In the coming weeks, we will begin major restoration of reservoirs and irrigation systems in Over province. Out of 335 CTV buses, 221 are now running. We did not let people suffer without transport. Some wore stars on their caps, some had red stars. But let us not belittle the sacrifices of those who worked tirelessly. That is what I want to say.
Shifting attention to international news, Russian President Vladimir Putin says Russia stands ready to provide uninterrupted shipments of fuel to India as Delhi faces pressure from Trump to stop buying Moscow's oil. Putin made these comments during a joint media briefing with Prime Minister Narendra Modi while on his visit to India.
Russian President Vladimir Putin and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a joint media briefing in Delhi today. Modi outlined plans to strengthen ties between the two countries, announcing the opening of 2 new Indian consulates in Russia and unveiling 2 new tourist visa schemes. He emphasized that India had stood for peace from beginning and expressed willingness to contribute to efforts seeking a lasting solution in the region. Putin highlighted Russia's commitment to continue uninterrupted fuel shipments to India, referencing a major nuclear power plant under construction in India with Russian assistance. Following their bilateral meeting, both leaders announced that India and Russia had agreed on a joint economic program extending until 2030. The visit comes amid ongoing US-led efforts to broker peace in the region.
From that, we've been to close this edition of Primetime News on TV1.
Thank you for joining us.
Good night.